The anime starts the birth of Mona Kawaii, whose charm captures the attention of everyone around her from the very start. As she grows, her irresistible allure only intensifies, drawing admiration from everyone around her. However, things change when the 17-year-old Mona meets the new transfer student, Kuroyo Medaka, who remains completely unfazed by her charm despite her persistent efforts. While other students, both boys and girls, are thrilled to gain her attention, Medaka actively avoids her. Mona tries to play it cute, even teasing him with a cutesy act, mimicking a cat after noticing him like a cat picture on his phone. However, he remains indifferent and even trolls her and bluntly tells her to stop approaching him unless necessary. Stung by his rejection, since no one has ever resisted her, Mona refuses to back down. Stung by her pride as no one has ever resisted her charm, she escalates her tactics and resorts to seductive methods. However, when those fail as well, Mona is left perplexed yet determined to continue her pursuit. Mona corners Medaka under the pretense of feeling unwell, having him escort her to the nurse's office. Her plan seems to be working at first, but her hopes are dashed when Medaka's expression suddenly turns sour. Nevertheless, she persists in her efforts but suddenly trips, causing him to fall, with her landing on top of him. Yet, Medaka remains unaffected. Determined, Mona resorts to unbuttoning her shirt as a last-ditch effort. While this initially appears to have an impact, Medaka quickly counters by chanting a mantra to clear his mind and spirit. Frustrated, Mona breaks down in tears. As she throws a tantrum, Mona slips again, but Medaka catches her, resulting in an unexpectedly romantic moment. He advises her to save such embarrassing moods for someone she truly likes and walks away. His parting words leave Mona flustered, her heart skipping a beat. In disbelief, she screams, questioning why she's the one getting charmed instead. After returning to the classroom, Mona finds herself flustered and unable to face Medaka. Confused about her feelings, she wonders if it could be love. Frustrated, she vows to win him over. Another day during gym class, where Mona resumes her pursuit with a new tactic, determined to succeed where her previous attempts proved ineffective. While the other boys are enchanted, Medaka remains unaffected and avoids her, leaving the scene while chanting his mantra. Annoyed, she follows Medaka outside the gymnasium, but he continues to evade her. Mona decides to call it a day and is about to drink water when she catches Medaka stealing glances at her. Thrilled, she fumbles and accidentally splashes water, soaking her clothes. Seeing a soaking Mona visibly affects Medaka, though she is left embarrassed. Hence, Medaka gives her his gym shirt. As he walks away, Mona can't resist sneaking a glance at his physique. Meanwhile, another student secretly observes their interaction. Two of Mona's male classmates confront Medaka for constantly ignoring her. Medaka explains that he is an heir to a cat temple and as a future monk is forbidden from forming close relationships with girls. He admits that he doesn't know how to interact with girls, especially someone as charming and cute as Mona, girls like whom he's only ever seen on TV. Coming from a distant place, he finds Tokyo full of temptation. Reflecting on his encounters with Mona, Medaka blushes and worries that he might fall for her if things continue as they are. To clear his mind and resist these growing desires, he chants his mantra, revealing that he transferred to a co-ed school to further train his mind. Determined to overcome worldly temptations, Medaka is set on staying true to his religious path. When Mona returns his shirt the next day, her teasings continue. Medaka struggles to maintain his resolve, while Mona vows to make him fall for her. In art class, Mona poses in front of Medaka, hoping to catch his attention. However, the guy focuses on praying to expel sinful thoughts. When Mona offers to pose even without clothes, Medaka remains completely calm, which irritates her immensely. Come on, it's just a joke, she thinks, but decides that today's drawing project will be her day of victory. Mona prepares thoroughly. She searches online for sexy poses to knock Medaka off his feet. She recalls an incident when he can't take his eyes off her after she gets soaking wet. Haha, that's it, she thinks, striking the perfect pose. But instead of being impressed, Medaka sinks into meditation to avoid thinking about nonsense. He draws, completely ignoring Mona's attempts to seduce him with her gaze. Meanwhile, her classmate Haruno can't take her eyes off Mona. Hey, are you even drawing? Mona protests as Haruno continues to stare at her. This makes Mona suspicious. Could she also be in love with Medaka? After class, Mona bumps into Medaka in the library. She tries to look intellectual, glasses, a book, and tea. This time I'll definitely make an impression, she thinks, accidentally brushing her leg against his. Medaka jumps up as if stung by a wasp and runs away. What the? Thanks, Mona, feeling utterly discouraged. Jealousy intensifies when Mona notices that Haruno is always around. Is she really my rival? She wonders, trying to figure out why Haruno spends so much time near Medaka, but it turns out to be something entirely different. Haruno is obsessed with Mona. Yes, she even has a desktop wallpaper with Mona's photo and a collection of 300 pictures. So you're not in love with Medaka? Mona asks in surprise, learning the truth. Haruno shyly admits that she just wants to be closer to her favorite classmate. Mona agrees to accept Haruno's help in winning Medaka over, though it still feels a little strange that someone adores her so much. The next day, Mona tries to confess her feelings to Medaka, but the words get stuck in her throat. Instead of saying, "I love you," she blurts out, "You disgust me." Medaka, a true gentleman, assures her that he doesn't see anything under her skirt and walks away. What the hell did I just do? Mona thinks, feeling like a complete failure. Eventually, Mona and Haruno start working together for the school festival. Haruno suggests the idea of a cafe with costumes, but Mona adamantly refuses. "I'm not wearing a huge costume that hides my best features." Still, they find common ground, and Mona realizes that perhaps Haruno isn't such a bad ally after all. Mona is preparing for the school festival. Her friend Haruno tells her about the legend of the Bridge of Love, a bridge where, if you hold hands with your beloved, you can be together forever. Mona decides to use the festival as an opportunity to catch Medaka's attention. She plans to use costumes from the drama club, including maid outfits, police uniforms, and even her secret weapon, a bunny costume. "No, this is too much even for me," Mona thinks to herself. While trying on the costumes, Medaka catches Mona in one of the outfits. To avoid awkwardness, they hide in a closet. Medaka feels extremely uncomfortable and is clearly praying to every saint he knows, while Mona feels like she's living in a romantic comedy, hoping he can't hear her pounding heart. After Haruno leaves, they emerge from the closet. Mona realizes she's used her weapon of mass destruction on Medaka, but he remains calm and even compliments her. "You look cute, but it's a bit too revealing." However, afterward, he begins avoiding her. At the festival, Mona's group runs a cafe with waitresses dressed in bunny costumes. Mona tries to grab Medaka's attention, but he's busy working in the kitchen. Haruno takes matters into her own hands and forces them to hand out flyers together. Mona's attempts to spend time with Medaka turn into a series of mishaps. She gets scared by zombies in a haunted house, and her skirt gets stuck in the decorations. Medaka helps Mona get out of the awkward situation with her stuck skirt. Blushing from embarrassment, Mona decides to keep trying. She offers Medaka a crepe but accidentally smudges it on his face. This is the perfect moment, she thinks, offering to wipe his cheek, but he refuses, and then a bird snatches her crepe. "Of course, even the birds are against me," Mona sighs. Later, Mona tries to charm Medaka with a romantic gesture, a kiss on the cheek via an inflated balloon dog, but all her attempts end in failure. "It's like fate is mocking me," she thinks. As the day comes to an end, Mona notices that time is running out and none of her plans have worked. She gazes at the Bridge of Love, where countless couples are holding hands. Mona realizes that despite all her efforts, nothing has gone the way she plans. Meanwhile, chaos reigns in the cafe. Haruno burns all the food, and Sagyu decides to leave and return to her own club. Mona watches as numerous couples gather on the Bridge of Love. When people spot her with Medaka, they assume he's her boyfriend. Mona tries to divert their attention by suggesting they promote the cafe. Her plan works. The couples leave, but she decides to seize the moment and tells Medaka about the legend of the bridge. She takes his hand, but he quickly pulls away, unsettled by the creepy legend. Mona doesn't give up and stages a fall so that he'll help her up. Medaka lifts her by the hands, carefully avoiding unnecessary contact. With about an hour left until the festival ends, Mona tries to come up with a new plan, but they're interrupted by classmates asking for help in the cafe. After the festival, Mona is disheartened by her string of failures. Haruno notices this and asks Medaka to help carry some tables. Mona tries to strike up a conversation, but he ignores her. Suddenly, a box falls toward her, and Medaka rushes to save her. He quickly steps back, saying the festival is already over. The next day at school, new couples appear, much to Haruno's delight. Mona begins to doubt the legend, as Medaka still hasn't confessed anything to her. When she sees him, she hides but decides to try again. She greets him, but he remains distant. After class, the group goes bowling. Mona scores a strike, but Medaka ignores her attempt at a high five. Only after her persistence does he reluctantly agree, triggering a flood of memories in her mind about the bridge. Later, Mona decides to sit next to him and accidentally drinks from his can of cola. She jokes about it being an indirect kiss. Mona feels like she's losing control of the situation. The next day, she notices Medaka isn't wearing his winter uniform. They discuss it briefly, but their conversation is interrupted by Medaka's friends, who scold him for being rude to Mona. Medaka starts to change his behavior. He offers to share his textbook with her, but startled by her enthusiasm, he quickly withdraws. However, realizing his mistake, he returns and apologizes. Mona is overjoyed, and Haruno captures the moment with a photo. Medaka reminds himself that the most important thing is not to fall in love with her. Mona wakes up to a rainy day but decides not to let it dampen her spirits. She spots Medaka taking shelter from the rain and takes it as a sign of fate. Mona offers to share her umbrella with him, despite his attempts to decline. Medaka reluctantly agrees, recalling his friend's advice to be more polite. On their way to school, Mona tries to get closer to him. She suggests they move closer under the umbrella and even takes his hand. Medaka doesn't pull away, but he clearly feels uncomfortable. At school, they pass through the gym where Asahi, a talented basketball player, practices. Mona accidentally disrupts her training, and Asahi sharply calls her out. Medaka steps in to shield Mona from a stray ball, stirring up a wave of emotions in her. Asahi notices them together and later questions Mona about her relationship with Medaka. Mona denies everything, but Asahi doesn't believe her, especially after learning that they arrived together under the same umbrella. Mona starts to worry that Asahi might become a rival. The next day, Asahi tries to strike up a conversation with Medaka, but she blushes and loses her ability to speak. Mona quickly whisks Medaka away to avoid any unnecessary exchanges. Later, she learns from Haruno that Asahi is the star of the basketball team and begins to see her as a potential threat. During physical education class, the students play basketball. Mona tries hard to impress Medaka, while Medaka, playing poorly, gets hit in the face with the ball. After class, he loses a bet and has to clean the gym. Mona offers to help him, using the opportunity to grow closer. She adjusts his stance by pressing against him, which makes him visibly flustered. At that moment, Asahi appears and creates a scene. She asks Mona point blank if she likes Medaka and challenges her to a competition. During a demonstration of drills, both girls attempt to grab Medaka's attention, leading to an awkward situation. Medaka, embarrassed by the unfolding drama, flees the scene, leaving them both confused. After the incident at school, Medaka misses classes. Mona learns that he falls ill after getting soaked in the rain and decides to visit him. Along the way, she bumps into Asahi, who is also heading to see him. Both girls refuse to back down and end up going to Medaka's place together. When they arrive, Medaka is surprised to learn that they know where he lives. Mona and Asahi begin competing over who can take better care of him. They prepare food, cut fruit, and even dress up as a nurse and doctor to impress him. Medaka, feeling extremely uncomfortable, tries his best to handle their overwhelming attention. While Medaka sleeps, the girls discuss their feelings in the kitchen. Asahi admits that she likes Medaka, and Mona realizes her rival is sincere. Mona struggles to resist the urge to kiss him but realizes it wouldn't be right. At that moment, Asahi returns, sparking another confrontation between the two. The next day at school, Mona and Asahi continue their rivalry, though more calmly this time. They talk and even sit together, surprising their classmates. Medaka, having returned to school, thanks them both for their care. Mona tries to talk to him, but her nerves fail her and she keeps avoiding the conversation. Later, Medaka attempts to speak with Mona, but she runs away again, accidentally bumps into him, causing her to faint. When she wakes up in the nurse's office, she learns that Medaka takes care of her since she catches his cold. He thanks her for her help, and Mona feels delighted, imagining him carrying her in his arms. In class, Medaka's friends tease him by setting a picture of a girl in a bikini as his phone wallpaper. They claim it will help him become immune to female attention. Medaka feels uncomfortable and decides to delete the photo. Meanwhile, Mona learns from Haruno that she sends Medaka her own photo to catch his attention. Mona asks Haruno to delete it, but the phone dies before they can do anything. Mona runs around the school, trying to find Medaka. She catches him on the rooftop, where he looks at Haruno's photo. Mona quickly deletes the message but notices the background screen, the photo of the girl in a bikini. Medaka is embarrassed, while Mona gets upset, assuming he prefers other girls. In reality, Medaka's friends set the photo without his consent. To fix the situation, Mona decides to use the idea of Halloween costumes to her advantage. She suggests throwing a class party. Everyone agrees, except Medaka, who resists but is eventually convinced. Mona plans to figure out which costume Medaka likes so she can use it to her benefit. Asahi, who continues to keep an eye on their plans, joins them when they go shopping for costumes. At the store, Mona tries on several outfits, but her main goal is to figure out which costume Medaka prefers. She watches him pick out a costume and decides to choose the one he likes. When everyone tries on their costumes, Mona appears dressed as a mummy. However, she realizes she didn't choose the costume Medaka liked. One of Medaka's friends comments on it, and Mona, feeling embarrassed, decides to change her outfit. She assures everyone that she'll reveal the right choice choice only at the party. On Halloween, Mona prepares for the party by purchasing a costume she believes Medaka will like. She meets up with Haruno and Asahi to head to the celebration together. Everyone dresses up, Mona as a witch, Asahi in a gothic outfit, and Haruno as a ghost. Mona forgets her hat and goes back to retrieve it. At that moment, she bumps into Medaka, who coincidentally ends up wearing the same costume as Haruno. Mistaking him for Haruno, Mona pulls him into a room and asks him to zip up her costume. Medaka panics at first, but then realizes he's been mistaken for Haruno. He helps her, but when Mona discovers who he really is, the situation becomes extremely awkward. Both are embarrassed, especially Medaka, who now fears things might spiral out of control. At the party, a game called Mummy Wrap is announced, where participants must wrap each other in toilet paper. The winners receive a year's supply of candy. Mona sees this as her chance. When it's time to form pairs, Asahi and Mona start competing for the right to team up with Medaka. Using clever tactics, Mona wins, and they become partners. During the game, Medaka, flustered by the situation, does a poor job wrapping Mona. She takes matters into her own hands and shows him how to do it properly, but she ends up wrapping herself too tightly, which triggers some awkward thoughts from him. In the end, they lose and Haruno and her partner emerge victorious. After the game, the girls ask Medaka to take photos with them, sparking jealousy in Mona. She also demands a photo, but Medaka refuses, tired of constant picture taking. This upsets Mona, who feels humiliated. During the group photo, they accidentally end up standing next to each other, but it's not enough for Mona. Later at school, Medaka tells his friends that Mona is mad at him for refusing to take a photo. His friends point out that he acted foolishly, especially since she went out of her way to buy a costume she thought he'd like. Medaka realizes his mistake, but he still feels too embarrassed to apologize. In class, they're assigned to clean the storage room together. Mona tries to mend their relationship, but she accidentally spills water on Medaka. She apologizes, and they both admit they were wrong. Mona comes to understand that her anger wasn't just about the photo, it was also because she saw him spending time with other girls. That evening, Medaka scrolls through the party photos and notices how happy Mona looked before their argument. He's filled with regret, wondering what he could have done better. Meanwhile, a new girl arrives in town, adding intrigue to the tangled web of romantic entanglement. Mona wakes up to a message from her friend who has just arrived in Tokyo. They agree to meet after school. Meanwhile, Asahi keeps an eye on Medaka, who refuses to sing karaoke with his friends. When he notices her, she panics and runs away, accidentally dropping her ID card. Medaka picks it up and returns it to her. Minami, Asahi's friend, convinces her to invite Medaka to lunch. Asahi feels nervous but agrees. At lunch, Mona meets her friend Tomo, who has come to town. Tomo shares that she wants to find a boyfriend in Tokyo. Meanwhile, Asahi has lunch with Medaka on the rooftop. She tries to start a conversation, but both appear visibly nervous. Asahi decides to take a bold step and suggests playing trick or treat. Medaka doesn't understand, but agrees. She kisses him on the cheek but becomes too scared to continue. After school, Mona meets Tomo, who starts flirting with random passers-by. Mona grows jealous when she sees Tomo chatting with Medaka. Tomo introduces herself to him and even jokingly offers to become his girlfriend, but Medaka politely declines. Mona gets upset, and Tomo begins suspecting that her friend has feelings for him. Mona denies everything, but it becomes obvious that she's lying. The next day, a new student arrives in class, Tomo. She explains that she moved because of her father's job. Mona feels unhappy about her arrival, fearing that Tomo might ruin her plans with Medaka. Her friend hints that there might be something between them, but Mona denies it. However, Tomo remains convinced that her friend is hiding her feelings. Kuroiwa's friends notice that Tomo and Mona are close and start teasing him about it. Mona tries pulling Tomo into the hallway to explain the situation. She begs her not to interfere, but Tomo insists that Medaka isn't right for Mona. He's boring, not good-looking, and even smells bad. Mona defends him, saying that he's always been there to help her during tough times. Tomo realizes that her friend is truly in love. Mona still denies her feelings for Medaka, but her friend Tomo stays convinced that it's love, her first time. Tomo gives advice to help Mona realize her emotions. For example, if Mona can't eat while looking at him, or if her hands shake when she sees Medaka. Mona rejects these ideas, but Tomo knows she's just afraid to admit it to herself. Later, Asahi tells Mona that she kissed Medaka. Mona feels shocked and angry upon hearing this. She tries convincing herself that it doesn't mean anything, as it was just a stolen kiss. But thoughts of Asahi getting ahead of her spark a storm of emotions in Mona. Tomo suggests organizing a group outing with friends to help Mona get closer to Medaka. The next day, everyone gathers together and heads to the amusement park. Mona tries keeping up with Asahi, who actively flirts with Medaka. In the line for the roller coaster, Asahi asks Medaka to sit next to her because she's scared. Mona also tries joining them, but another student takes her spot. Tomo notices that Mona is losing control of the situation and decides to help her. When it's their turn, Tomo pretends to be scared of riding and asks Medaka to accompany Mona instead. During the ride, Mona feels nervous, thinking about how Asahi held his hand. Afterward, she decides to ask Medaka directly, "Are you in love with Asahi?" Medaka becomes flustered and denies it. He admits he's heard rumors, but they don't interest him. Then, unexpectedly, he asks Mona, "What about you? Does anyone like you?" Mona freezes, unsure how to respond. After the ride, the group decides to take a photo with the park mascot. While the others are busy, Tomo suggests that Medaka go with Mona to grab some food. At one of the stalls, the vendor offers a discount for couples. Mona and Medaka agree to pretend to be a couple. The vendor, clearly hinting at romance, says, "Close your eyes and get ready for the best kiss of your life." Mona and Medaka approach the moment of their first kiss, but at the last second, Mona pulls back, saying she just wanted to get free churros. Medaka feels surprised, realizing he was close to losing his innocence. They return to the group, where Asahi continues flirting with Medaka on every ride. Tomo notices that Mona is being too passive and tells her that if she doesn't want to lose Medaka, she needs to take action. Mona denies her feelings, but Tomo reminds her that her reluctance to show her true self is getting in the way of their relationship. She advises Mona to be herself before it's too late. Mona starts reflecting on Tomo's words and remembers moments when she was her true self, in class, at the festival, in the closet. She realizes that, perhaps, Tomo is right. Kuroiwa has become her first real crush. At that moment, her phone breaks after falling into a fountain. She's left alone while Medaka goes looking for her. When Medaka finds Mona, she's still nervous. He suggests riding the Ferris wheel to look for their friends. During the ride, Mona sees her reflection and realizes that she truly behaves differently around Medaka. She loses her balance and almost kisses him, blushing deeply. Medaka notices her state and comments that sometimes she acts strangely, but it's cute. Mona realizes that he sees her for who she really is and accepts her as she is. Later, Medaka confesses that he likes her, which stirs mixed feelings in Mona. She tries convincing herself that it's not love, just an infatuation. But eventually, she gives in and admits to herself that she's truly in love with him. This becomes an important step for both of them. After this, they meet up with friends, but Mona can no longer hide her excitement. She becomes very nervous, and her friends notice it, especially Tomo. When the group decides to spend time together, Mona, feeling uncomfortable, apologizes and says she wants to go home because she's not feeling well. The rest of the friends agree to leave, deciding they've already had a good time. During the subway ride home, Tomo stays by Mona's side and tries finding out what happened. Mona, clearly upset, eventually confesses to her friend that Medaka noticed her changes, the way she was removing her mask in front of him. Mona also admits that she realized she's in love with him. Tomo, though she promised not to laugh, can't help herself, but explains that she's happy for her friend and will support her. Later, Mona meets Asahi and decides to honestly tell her about her feelings. Before, Mona thought she just wanted Medaka to fall in love with her because that's how it always happened with other boys. But now, she understands that she's the one who's fallen for him. To her surprise, Asahi isn't angry. Instead, she says she knew this would happen sooner or later. Now that Mona has acknowledged her feelings, Asahi realizes it will be even harder to compare for Medaka's heart. The next day, Mona falls ill. She lies in bed, thinking about what to do next. She's used to receiving affection from others, but she's never felt this way before. Later, she talks to Tomo via video call, and Tomo advises her to talk to Medaka. Tomo even arranges a video call with him, climbing up to the school rooftop with him. Mona, still in her pajamas, feels nervous, but the conversation turns out to be sweet. Medaka shows genuine concern, asking how she's feeling. Their chat gets interrupted by Mona's mom, who's worried about her condition. When Mona recovers, she decides she wants to be with Medaka. She dreams about the possibility of being in a relationship with him and spending time together. When she returns to school, her feelings for Medaka grow even stronger. She accidentally bumps into him when both bend down to pick up a dropped eraser. Afterward, Mona blushes and runs away, thinking about how much she wants to be his girlfriend. And that's how the season ends. Let me know what you think about this anime, and as always, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video.